Hey Glennis. Should we tell our friends about a little bit about Kansas City? If you guys thought about moving to Kansas City, we've got some pros and cons for you today. Hi, I'm Mara Coleman. I'm a real estate agent with ReeceNichols The Village in Kansas City, and on this channel we tell you all kinds of things about Kansas City. So Kansas City is a pretty great place, and what I'm going to talk with you guys about today are some pros and cons about living in Kansas City. And the first thing though that I want to visit with you about is something that confuses a lot of people. Kansas City, when you hear the words Kansas City, if you live here, you think about the greater Kansas City area, which is Kansas City in the Kansas side and the Missouri side. The city of Kansas City is actually Kansas City, Missouri, and that's kind of where all the entertainment, not all, but lots of the entertainment things are: the Royals, the Chiefs, the Plaza, Crown Center, shopping, hotels, entertainment, all kind of the fun stuff, the big fun stuff is there in the Kansas City, Missouri side. There are equally wonderful things in Kansas City, Kansas. That's more of an urban area. And then there are suburbs all around the center in Kansas and Missouri. So lots of little smaller cities that also consider themselves to be Kansas City. So if you meet somebody from Kansas City outside of the state of Kansas or Missouri, and they're from Overland Park or Lenexa or Olathe or Lee Summit or Parkville or any of those little towns or cities around Kansas City on the Missouri and the Kansas side, they might just say they're from Kansas City, and you have no idea what they're talking about or where they're from. But that's just how we do it. It's a little confusing. One of the pros about living in Kansas City is the cost of living is really good. And I have some stats for you. I'm going to look down because I don't want to misrepresent. But on bestofplaces.net, Kansas City was given a score of 86. Obviously, 100 is average. That's really great. Also, kind of depending on what part of the city you're in, and we talked a little bit about the Kansas and Missouri sides, and the center of the city your home values will fluctuate. So as closest to the city as you get in the Kansas side, and often the Missouri side as well, the higher the prices of homes will be. So in some of the suburbs on the Kansas side, like Prairie Village, Leawood, Fairway, that are maybe 5 to 10 minutes from the core of the center of the city, home prices will be a little bit higher. You'll get a little less of a house for the money than if you go farther outside of the city, right, Glennis? Over to, say, Lee Summit in Missouri, Overland Park in Kansas, or Olathe. And as you get a little bit farther outside of the city limits, the property values are even better. So the cost of living is lower. You get a lot more house for the money. So, but cost of living is great. There was another number I wanted to share with you. Numbero, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, ranked Kansas City 166th out of 552 cities in the world. I thought that was kind of an interesting stat too. So cost of living is definitely a pro about moving to Kansas City. Piggybacking on that, Kansas City is a great place to raise a family. There are lots of great things and great schools and opportunities for children in Kansas City, both on the Kansas and the Missouri side, both in the urban core and in the suburbs as well. So there are some wonderful school districts on the Shawnee Mission, Blue Valley, Olathe, DeSoto. On the Kansas side, Lee Summit, Parkville, let's see, I was going to tell you about Liberty. There's some very wonderful schools on the Missouri side as well. So there's a lot of great things for kids in Kansas City, and it is a really great place to raise a family. One con of Kansas City is the Kansas City, Missouri public schools. They have been struggling for years with accreditation. They are working really hard still, and I believe last year's tests were getting close, and I believe they may be provisionally certified with the accreditation. So they're on the right track, they're moving forward, and they're doing the best they can. There are some really great charter schools in Kansas City, Missouri that lots of kids have enjoyed as well, and those are growing more and more, as well as wonderful private schools in Kansas City. So there's ways to get around that, but the Kansas City, Missouri, the main school district, has had some struggles in the past, but they are working hard on that. One of my favorite pros about Kansas City is the vibrant art and music scene. Kansas City has really strong arts. We have the Kemper Art Museum, the Nelson Atkins Art Museum, which is world renowned for its art and sculpture and gardens. So many wonderful things that are there. The Kaufman Gardens is a beautiful place to enjoy. Our music is wonderful as well. We have the Kaufman Center for theater, dance, wonderful orchestral groups, and all kinds of great music happens there. There's lots of smaller local jazz, blues, contemporary music venues, as well as country, and of course they've changed the name, right, Glynis? It used to be the Sprint Center, now it's T-Mobile or something, but we get great big fantastic concerts that come all the time. So the music, the jazz, the culture, the arts, it's so strong here in Kansas City, and it's just getting better and better every year. Glynis, what are you looking at? She's thinking about how great the food and the coffee shops are in Kansas City. That's a big pro. You can be a foodie and find all kinds of great things here. You've heard of the barbecue, I'm sure. We have some of the very best barbecue in Kansas City, but we also have really great restaurants, regular James Beard Award winners. We have fantastic local coffee shops. Oh, she just collapsed in thinking of how great the food is in Kansas City. It's really wonderful. So many locally owned places, and you could be happy with many different cultural food options and kind of the traditional Midwest fare. So we have great food and really great restaurants and drink establishments in Kansas City. I think maybe the biggest con that I can tell you about Kansas City is that we're kind of isolated. There's not a lot of places you could go very close. So, you know, to change your scenery, it takes about 10 hours in the car or a plane ride. And that's a lot. So, you know, just to even get to Chicago, it's 10 hours. It's 10 hours to get to Houston. It's 10 hours to get to Denver. You know, you could go 8 hours in any direction and it'll look a lot the same as it does here. So being so isolated in the middle of the country is a little bit of a bummer, but used to be a con, it's kind of still a con, but it's gonna be a pro soon, is our airport. We can go anywhere. It is an international airport. It has been a teeny tiny little funky little airport since I was little. They are just now redoing it completely, and they say it's going to be amazing. So we're going through the growing pains of that airport situation, but from what I have read and heard, it's going to look really good. Not for Glynis. She's just a road trip girl. One thing I kind of think is a con is sometimes the weather here stinks. We do have every season you could want, but the summers are super hot and very humid and sticky. And since we don't have mountains to go to or an ocean to dip ourselves into, they kind of feel like they drag on a little bit. So our summers are a little painful. Fall and spring are beautiful. Winter is sometimes, well, lately we've been getting some really great snows, and that's been really fun. But we do sometimes also get ice. And then there's tornadoes. So Kansas City's weather may be kind of a con. It's not the best. I'm going to wrap us all up on a big pro, and that's just the people in the Midwest. There's something about Midwestern people that is just kind, genuine, and friendly. And I think you can find that really anywhere you go in Kansas City, whether you are on the Kansas side or the Missouri side, if you're in a suburb or if you're in the core of the city, out and about. People are really nice. You're going to find lots of people making eye contact with you, saying hi, how's it going, helping you out. doing anything that you might ask of them. So, you know, the Midwest, you hear about how wonderful Midwestern people are, and it's true. Midwesterners are pretty great, and that's one of my favorite things about Kansas City. There are a whole bunch of videos that you can go watch about different neighborhoods in Kansas City. Some of the subdivisions that I've talked about are there, and you can really enjoy Glynis and I, she's hiding now, but Glynis and I driving around and telling you a little bit about some of these subdivisions in Kansas City. So head over there and check out some of these great places that I've just shared with you. Thanks for watching.